Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Italian Grammar in Bites. But most importantly, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about tenses, but not general tenses. We're talking about past tenses because I've noticed that most of my students really struggle in the translation part. Ideally, we would think in our target language. In our case, we would think in Italian to speak in Italian. However, it's not the case. And especially when we are at the beginner stages, if the tenses don't match, it's very difficult to come up with which one to use. So today, we're not going to analyze how to form these tenses that we're going to see. We're going to see the Passato Prossimo, the Imperfetto, the Trapassato, and the Passato Remoto. So we're going to see how these four tenses relate to English and how these two languages face different tenses in the past. The first piece of advice that I want to give you before we get started is to never translate literally the tense from English into Italian or vice versa, because even though the forms sometimes match, the use it's very often different. So without further ado, let's get started. And naturally, let's get started with the Passato Prossimo. The Passato Prossimo in Italian is used to express an action that is concluded, even the imperfetto, so bear with me on this definition. The Passato Prossimo is that tense that we use to describe a concluded action that is specific in time. That means an action that has a time frame or a specific duration. And here we can already spot one difference between Italian and English, because to use the Passato Prossimo in English, you have two different tenses, the simple past and the present perfect. Let's bring up some examples so we don't get buried by all this labeling. The simple past or the past simple in English is the closest tense that we have to the Passato Prossimo because it's to indicate an action that is concluded in the past, it has a specific duration and it's done. For example, he arrived yesterday. È arrivato ieri. However, there is another form in English that you can use to express an action that happened in the past and has a continuing effect in the present, whether the action still continues or it's an action that has some effect in the present. And therefore, it's not fully concluded, which is the present perfect. Think about these sentences. Mario has gone out at 5 p.m. and he's still out. Mario has gone out. Or I have traveled a lot. These two constructions in English with the present perfect in Italian translate with the Passato Prossimo. Mario è uscito alle 5. Ho viaggiato molto. And here's the difference. In Italian, the effect doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if it's still going on. It doesn't matter if there is still a possibility of me traveling in the future. What it does matter is that I have traveled and Mario has gone out. The influence that the action has on the future, for us, it doesn't matter. It's not conceived at all. What it does matter is that this action happened. So we said that we can use the past simple or the present perfect when talking about the Passato Prossimo. Now let's see the Imperfetto. Imperfetto is that tense that we use to describe something in the past. Describe a person, a character, an animal, an object, feelings, weather, etc. Anything that is a description in the past, how something was, we want to use the imperfetto. But we can use the imperfetto also to talk about a repeated action in the past, as well as an action that was going on in the past. The most important thing to remember about the imperfetto is the name itself. Perfetto, imperfect. It's something that it's blurred, something that it doesn't have a clear beginning or a clear ending. Think about the emotions. When you say, I was happy or I was sad, can you exactly pinpoint it in time when your happiness started and when it ended? Or when your sadness started and it ended? It's kind of difficult, isn't it? And this is why we use the imperfect, because it's something blurred, something non-defined, versus the Passato Prossimo, which is very clear instead. So we would say, ero triste, ero felice, because we are describing. But if you notice, we said I was happy, I was sad, which is simple past in English. Now, the difference between English and Italian doesn't stop here, because to express the imperfetto, English actually has 4 different options. The first one that we just saw is the simple past. I was happy, ero felice. We talk about emotions, weather, description, these are all in the imperfetto. But we can use the imperfetto, we said, also to express an action that is repeated in the past, something that used to. And this is exactly it. In English, you say used to plus infinitive translates with one word in the imperfetto. For example, when I was a child, I used to go to school by bike. Quando ero piccola, when I was a child, quando ero piccola, andavo a scuola in bicicletta. When I was a child, I used to go to school by bike. Do you see how here you have 2 different forms in English? I was and I used to. In Italian instead, it's all the imperfetto. Ero piccola, andavo a scuola in bicicletta. Now, to express the imperfetto, always an habitual action, something that used to happen in English, you can do another thing in the past. So instead of saying I used to, you can even use I would go to school by bike. When I was a child, I would go to school by bike. Or as a child, I would never listen. Da piccola non ascoltavo mai. So as you can see, the would in the past is not conditional, but it's imperfetto in Italian. The last format that English has that translates into imperfetto in Italian is the progressive in the past, the ing form. I was studying, I was sleeping, etc. That can be also translated with the imperfetto. This is a little bit more structured. In Italian, it's common to use the progressive form as well, like stavo studiando, stavo dormendo, but it can also be translated with the imperfetto. Studiavo, dormivo. So a sentence like this, studiavo quando mi hai chiamato, or stavo studiando quando mi hai chiamato, they both translate with I was studying when you called. So to recap, the imperfetto in Italian has 4 different options in English. You can use the simple past, the used to plus infinitive, the would, and the ing form in the past. I was doing something. Okay, now let's move on to the third tense, which is the Trapassato Prossimo. The Trapassato Prossimo, even though this is not a video where we analyze how to build the tenses, is basically the child of the Passato Prossimo and the Imperfetto, because it's formed by both of them. Basically, the auxiliary is the Imperfetto, so essere o avere are in the Imperfetto, plus the ending of the Passato Prossimo. And this particular tense is nice because it almost matches Italian and English. So even though it's like, oh, it's another tense, it is very similar, both the concept, the intention, and the usage in Italian and English. What do we use it for? The Trapassato Prossimo is that tense that we use to express an action that it's before a past action. For example, when I arrived, you had already left. So I arrived in the past, and before I arrived, you had already left. This is what you use in English. In Italian, it's exactly the same. Quando sono arrivata, Passato Prossimo, quando sono arrivata, eri già andato via. Eri is in the imperfetto, andato is the ending of the Passato Prossimo. So this is the Trapassato Prossimo. Now the last tense that I would like to talk about today is the Passato Remoto. The Passato Remoto is very often overlooked by many students, and also foreign language teachers don't like to teach the Passato Remoto because really we don't use it in spoken Italian. So if your goal is to go to Italy and have a basic conversation with an Italian, you don't need to learn the Passato Remoto. It's still used in some regions of southern Italy, but again, if you don't use it in conversation, they will still understand what you mean. So why to learn the Passato Remoto? The Passato Remoto is the tense of literature. Every single book, even children's book that you will read in Italian, has the Passato Remoto. So what is the difference between Passato Remoto and all the other 3 tenses that we've seen? Just like in the Imperfetto, I said focus on the name, while Imperfetto is imperfect. Passato Prossimo and Passato Remoto, they have a hint for you in their names. Passato Prossimo in the theoretical use of the term is the approximate, like very nearby. It's a close past. Passato remoto, it's a remote past. So the passato remoto is basically Passato Prossimo 2.0 is the faraway version of the Passato Prossimo. So it is used to express a concluded action specific with a time frame, but just a really long time ago. So whenever you're reading, for example, a history book, Leonardo dipinse la Gioconda, or Cristoforo Colombo scoprì l'America. All of these, the Passato Remoto, because for us it's just this differentiation between the Passato Prossimo, near past, and Passato Remoto, it doesn't really change the intention of the two. It's simply a matter of distance of the past. So in English, the Passato Remoto translates with the simple past. Christopher Columbus discovered America. Or Leonardo painted the Gioconda, or the Mona Lisa in English. So as you can see, the Passato Remoto is not a difficult tense to learn in terms of a concept versus like the Passato Prossimo and Imperfetto. Those two are more concepts than rules. The Passato Remoto is really just a matter of memorizing words and practice by reading. All right, so I would like to wrap up this video by quickly pointing out again the difference between Passato Prossimo and Imperfetto and how to choose between the two. I will make a longer video about this where we will go more in depth, but as we said at the beginning, remember these two main differences. The Passato Prossimo is for specific actions that have a time frame, a clear beginning, clear ending. Usually you have some kind of reference to time, or at least the concept of it gives you the idea of something that lasted for a period of time. Versus the imperfetto is the imperfect time, imperfect tense, that it's blurred and it's not very clear. So really when you're talking about description, when you're describing how your dog was when it was a puppy, when does it started, when did it ended to be cute? It just was, it existed. You don't have a clear beginning, clear ending, okay? So whenever you have to choose between the two, think about this difference, and then we will go more in depth in another video. All right, I hope this video was helpful to kind of see the differences between Italian and English. And if you have any questions or any comment, let me know here in the comments below, and I will try to answer as soon as I can. And at this point, I would really like to thank you guys for being here. It really makes my day whenever I receive a comment or an upvote. It really makes me happy and makes this whole thing worthwhile. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and leave a mi piace because that really pushes me to do more and create more and produce even more videos. That'll be all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on Instagram, where almost daily I publish things about Italy, Italian, the language, the culture, and a bit of personal life. Otherwise, I will see you back here in the next video. A presto! Ciao!